Hello. In this video I'm going to show you how to load a roll of film into a Manual Film SLR. If you have an automatic film camera, this won't work. This is a different process. Automatic basically means that you're not manually rolling your film as you take pictures. It rolls automatically, and those kinds of cameras generally have a different process. So this is a manual film camera. This is a Canon AE1. You may have a camera just like this, or you may have a different brand, and it'll work exactly the same. So lots and lots of film SLRs, manual film SLRs will work just like this camera. Nikon, Pentax, Olympus, Minolta, Vivitar, Yashica, all the different brands will work just like this. So the two things we need for this to happen are a roll of film. This is a manually rolled roll of film from a daylight loader. You can also use a film bought from a store, and they will just look a little bit different on the end. The cut will be a little different. This cut is just a nice angle like so. So step one is to open the back of the camera, and the way we do that is with the film winder knob, which is located on the left side of the camera. And what I like to do is turn my camera up on its lens, and then it's kind of up and facing me and gives me a nice workspace to get the film loaded into the camera. So the way we open this back door is by pulling the film winder knob, and you can flip up that lever, give it a tug, and then give it a good tug, and that will open the back. Let's look at that from a different angle. So flipping up this little lever, pulling that up, and then giving it a good tug, that opens the back door. Okay, now that we know how to open the back door, we can get started. I'm going to do two things here. Firstly, I'm going to remove this back door just for the purposes of this video, but you would not need to do that when you're loading film. I'm just going to do that so that my workspace is a little cleaner as I'm doing this video. Okay, that back door is removed. And then before we get started, I do want to point out that this area right here is your film camera shutter. And the shutter is very, very delicate. It's got to move at very high speeds. And that means that you want to really avoid touching it, poking it, pushing on it, prodding it. No pens, pencils, pins, canned air, no fingers anywhere near that shutter. So be really mindful of that, because we are working with this back part of the camera, and you need to be really aware not to touch this shutter, which is in here. It's made out of cloth or very thin metal, depending on your camera. The next step is to get the film canister into the camera, and you'll notice that if this is down, there's a little fork there which grabs onto the inside of your film camera and allows you to turn it and spin that reel inside your camera and pull the film in. So that's a really important little fork in there. However, we do not want it down right now, because it's nigh impossible to get the film in there when that's down. So make sure that's pulled up, and then you can drop the film right in there with the nub pointing to the bottom of your camera. 99% of cameras will load with the nub pointing to the bottom of the camera. Once the film canister is in there, you can press this down. If it doesn't go all the way down, just gently turn it until it does so. There we go. And you can flip that down and out of the way for now. We're going to pull out a few inches of film, about that much, so that much past the end of the camera. That gives us a nice amount of film to work with as we're loading it. Again, being mindful of this space here, which is your shutter. We're going to now find the last reel to the right end of the camera, and it's this reel here, not this one. So not this one, but this one here. And this reel here is going to have some notches in it. And each camera is a little bit different the way the notches are structured, but it'll be some form of slot or notch that you can slide your film into. I guess slot is a better term, but you're going to look for that slot and slide your film into it. So take that end of the film, and as you're sliding it in, you can be a little firm with it. You can push it in, jiggle it around. You want it to go in as far as it goes until you can't get it in there anymore. So I've pushed it in. It's firm. It's even okay if you crease the film a little bit over here. None of this film is going to have images on it, so it's totally okay if it gets creased a little bit. But really you want to get it in there nice and firmly so that if you tug on this gently, if you pull it really hard, it's going to pop out. But if you tug on it gently, it should not move at all. It should not come out of that slot at all. If it does start sliding out with a very gentle tug, you probably didn't push it in far enough, or you pushed it into the wrong part of the reel, and you'll want to just pull it out and try again until you can get it in so you can tug it gently and it doesn't come out. So that is what it should look like at this point. That's really good film to start with, and the film is in the slot really well. Let's just see what could go wrong at this point. So some things that people do wrong is so these are things you do not want to do. Some people will sometimes stick the film here in front of that first slot. No, don't do that. Sometimes people will stick their film just down in here without sticking it in a slot. No, you don't want to do that, and you don't want to stick it in between the two reels either, like just stick it in there. No. Those are things you do not want to do by any circumstances. So what you do want to do, again, is just get it into one of those slots right there. And notice what I'm doing here with my thumb that I'm not holding the film with. I'm pushing down on the reel so that it doesn't turn out from under me. So this thumb right here is pressing down to keep that reel from spinning out under me. And we'll get that in there until it's nice and firm. Okay. So this process that I'm going to show you is a redundant process. We do everything like 2 or even 3 times to make sure that our film is loaded properly. This is great for beginners if you're in a class, if you're trying this for your first few times. This is a great way to do it. Even for pros who've been doing it a long time, we all know that sometimes things go wrong that we missed or we forgot. So if we have a process where we're double and triple checking the functions, we know that it's in there, and we can be confident as we go out and shoot that our film is rolling properly, and if there's any errors, it's not going to be that the film was not loaded properly. So here's the first way that we check everything is before we close the back, we trip the shutter twice. So we trip the shutter and then wind the film, and watch what happens as I wind it. Watch right here. You'll see the film start wrapping around that reel, and that's what you want to see. If the film pops out, or it like clicks around, or it tears, then you know something's not right. And we'll do it one more time. Again, this is all with the back open, and we'll wind the film. And again, you see that film winding around there, and that is good. That's what you want to see, is that film winding around, this getting tauter up here. Like so, no tears, no film popping out, everything is looking like it's functioning properly. At this point, if everything looks right, we'll close the back door. If things aren't looking right, you want to pull the film out and start again. You might need to cut a fresh end on your film if it's torn. But if everything looks good, we're going to get the back on. So let's get to that. And it's totally okay if you've got the film poking up a little bit. We're going to deal with that in the next step. But for now, we're going to close this back door. So flip that up and over, and you'll want to close it until it clicks. And make sure that it's closed too and that it's not going to pop open on you. So we've done most of the work to load the film. Now we're just going to do another double/triple check to make sure everything is working properly and that the film actually is staying loaded properly and that we can move forward without having to worry about the film at all. So the next thing we'll do is we'll flip this lever back up. And if you look closely at that lever, let's get that light shining on there, just so. There we go. You can see that there's a little arrow on it. And each camera is slightly different. There might be an arrow on this part, or it might look a little different, but there'll be a little arrow pointing clockwise, and you'll want to turn this lever in the direction of that arrow. And you just keep turning it until it gets taut, just like that. And at that point, you don't want to force it. You just want to let it sit right there. But you do want to turn it till it gets taut, and what you've done is you've pulled that film nice and tight back into the canister. So now it's laying nice and flat across the back of the shutter there. And the next step, and also because it got taut, that means we know it stayed connected. It didn't come undone from the reel on this side of the camera that we loaded it into. So we know that the film is connected because it got taut. If you keep spinning that and just keep spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and nothing ever gets tight, it either means that this came undone here, or if you rolled your own film, it might mean that your film came undone inside the reel, that the tape or the connection that you made came undone. And that's something you'd probably want to check into, or at least keep in mind as you're shooting, so that when you get to the end of the roll, you know that it's not connected and you're not going to be able to wind it back in. I would highly suggest fixing that before you shoot. So if this never tightens, something's wrong and you need to check it. Okay, but this has gotten tight, and the next step we're going to do just like we did when the camera back was open. We're going to trip the shutter twice and wind the film twice. And watch what happens when I wind the film. So I've tripped the shutter, and now as I wind this, do you see that knob on the left spinning as I wind this film, as I push the film winding lever? Watch again, so watch right here. We're looking right here as I turn the film lever. That knob is also going to spin. And that indicates to me that the film is connected, that the reel was rolled properly, everything is working properly with the film, and you are good to go. You're ready to take your camera and go out and shoot, and you don't even have to worry at all about the film being loaded properly. You know now that it is loaded properly. We've done a redundant process where we've checked it like 3 times to make sure that everything is connected properly and ready to go. So get your camera, get out there and photograph, and I bid you good day.